ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
He was a giant on the American music scene, but Sean Combs, or Diddy, is now facing charges that put him at the centre of what could be a much-needed MeToo moment for the industry. The rapper has been arrested, accused of sex trafficking and running a criminal enterprise centred on abusing women. Today, what we know about the case and whether it will change the global music industry. And a warning, this episode discusses allegations of sexual assault. I'm Sam Hawley on Gadigal land in Sydney. This is ABC News Daily.
My name is Poppy Reid. I am a music journalist and commentator and the co-founder of the Bragg Media.
So, Poppy, before we get to the news of these charges, you better remind me, first of all, who Sean Combs is, or as other people call him, P. Diddy, or Diddy.
Yeah, he's got a few names, doesn't he? So Sean Combs, he's a US rapper, he's a record producer, he's an executive, a brand owner, and perhaps he's probably most known by his many stage names, Diddy, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy. He's a 3-time Grammy Award winner. He's actually credited with the discovery and the development of Notorious B.I.G., Biggie, as well as Mary J. Blige, as well as Usher. He actually worked as a talent director at Uptown Records. He even founded his own very successful record label, Bad Boy Records, in 1993. And then he embarked on his own recording career. And if he hadn't been accused of such heinous sex crimes, he would have quite an impressive music legacy.
I was going to say, he sounds like a real heavyweight in the music industry, a really big figure. But, of course, he has been in the news recently. I just want you to tell me before we go on, he hasn't had a big hit for ages, right? And there would be people out there who basically have never listened to his music. So why should we all care about what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He hasn't had a top 10 hit since 2007, I think. But we have to remember this isn't a music story. This is an entertainment industry story. He's an extremely successful businessman. He's worth billions of dollars. He's got an enterprise that includes a clothing line, TV productions, media enterprises.
One of the biggest names in American R&B and hip-hop appears in a federal courtroom.
A year ago, Sean Combs stood in Times Square and was handed a key to New York City. Today, he's been indicted and will face justice in the Southern District of New York.
Why people should care is because this could change the face of Hollywood. It could inform what music we do and don't listen to. It could inform what movies and actors we do and don't support, what brands we do and don't endorse based on what's going to come out of this court case.
All right, well, let's turn to the allegations then. Tell me, why have these come about now? What's the background to it?
So it all came about because his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, she sued him in November 2023. She accused him of rape, of battery and abuse. She's a singer, she's an artist. She signed to his record label when she was just 19. And interestingly, one day after she filed that suit, the two parties, her and Diddy, settled out of court. So it's actually not known what the terms of that settlement are because Diddy maintains his innocence. I'm sure you would have seen the video that leaked of Diddy's assault of Cassie Ventura. It was in 2016. It was an LA hotel, and it's being used as part of the evidence that was published by CNN in May.
The shocking images appear to show the music mogul trying to prevent Cassie Ventura from leaving a Los Angeles hotel in March 2016. He kicks her and drags her, later hurling a vase in her direction.
My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
Then, on the 25th of March this year, there were multiple raids of his properties in Miami and in LA. And I remember at the time it seemed like quite an intense raid by police. Everyone was saying like property was damaged, it was a bit over the top. But federal agents were actually looking for digital evidence based on what Cassie had alleged. And that really opened up what we're seeing now in the media and in the news.
Absolutely. Okay. And then in September, Diddy was arrested. So what's being alleged by the prosecution at this point?
The indictment, this 14-page indictment, is really damning.
Morning, everyone. My name is Damian Williams, and I'm the U.S. Attorney here in the Southern District of New York. Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs
So
with racketeering
the detail is incredibly graphic, and he's been charged with racketeering conspiracy, he's been charged with sex trafficking by force, fraud, coercion, as well as transportation to engage in prostitution. The indictment, and I'm going to read this part, it says that Diddy abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. And this happened for more than a decade. I mean, the prosecutors are saying that this all started around 2008. A lot of the indictment describes these sex parties that Diddy would host. And, you know, we're now very familiar with this term called freak-offs, where he would get male and female sex workers brought in to undertake sexual performances. And that's where the trafficking element comes into play, because a lot of these encounters were filmed as well. And these allegations show that there were people who participated willingly or unwillingly, but that they were left so battered and bruised from the experiences that they actually couldn't be seen in public following the abuse.
As alleged, when Combs didn't get his way, he was violent, and he subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse so that they would participate in the freak-offs, and that Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims, at times by their hair.
What's his defence in response to these allegations? He is in custody and he's been denied bail twice.
That's right. His legal team applied for bail twice and it was denied twice. So he's currently at the Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Centre. But his defence to this, I think it's going to be consent from the alleged victims. You know, he's said that he categorically denies all the allegations. He says that they are false. He says that they are defamatory. He says, you know, I'm an imperfect person, but I'm not a criminal.
The scale of this, I guess, is just becoming known because an additional 120 men and women have actually come forward who said they were sexually assaulted and subjected to sex trafficking in offences dating all the way back to the 1990s. So this is a big, big case.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen an attorney, Tony Busby, who's representing those 120 men and women. We've seen images and footage of him addressing the press.
We now represent 120 individuals who intend to bring civil claims in civil court against Sean Diddy Combs, as well as claims against many other individuals and entities that we will name as defendants as we file these individual cases.
He thinks that civil lawsuits will be filed within the next month. He described the victims as 60 males and 60 females and said that 25 were minors at the time of the alleged misconduct. One note from the press conference he gave was that the youngest alleged victim was just 9 at the time, and that victim has said that he was sexually abused by Diddy during an audition at Bad Boy Records. Also, one of the things that Tony Busby mentioned was that in several cases, victims say that they were drugged with what they're calling tranq, which is another word for horse tranquilizer, and that many of those incidents occurred at his infamous parties.
The biggest secret in the entertainment industry that really wasn't a secret at all has finally been revealed to the world. The wall of silence has now been broken, and victims are coming forward.
Wow. Okay, so these infamous parties took place over a long period of time, and it's very well documented that the who's who of the music and entertainment industry have attended these parties, isn't it?
That's right. I mean, we've been seeing these famed parties talked about in interviews. We've been seeing certain people from Hollywood talk about their involvement in the parties. You know, there's interviews from the 90s on Entertainment Tonight where Diddy himself says he'll be arrested for what goes on at these parties. And I think it's important to note, and I didn't realise this, but when I was doing a bit of a deep dive, his name Puff Daddy came from rumours of him having a temper. Another allegation about these parties is that a lot of the women involved typically would apparently need to receive IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion of the event, which Diddy would provide these people.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. Well, Poppy, this story, it really has sent ripples through the music industry. How are the people in the industry reacting to these allegations? Are they surprised by them?
Yeah, this is what is quite interesting about it, because I think it's going to bring up a lot of trauma for victims who have been in the music industry or in the entertainment industry, and they are victim survivors. You know, just as there were multiple Weinstein-type figures in the music industry, there are multiple Diddy figures who are still at large. And I think for a lot of the music community, it's a reminder that music's MeToo movement is still ongoing.
So this could be the start of a MeToo movement for the music industry, do you think?
We had a little bit of one a couple of years ago, especially in Australia. We had a good changing of the guard of a few big names here in Australia, but we haven't had the music industry hit as hard as the film and TV industry, you know, of course, around Weinstein. But I mean, it's likely that, you know, this is going to be one of the most followed criminal cases in music. It's likely that more people are going to come forward. If over 100 people have come forward, you know, that number is going to increase as the case becomes more widely known. I think we're going to see a huge shake-up in the industry.
You work in this field every day. Do you think that there is a much wider problem throughout the industry, not only in America, but, you know, around the world, here in Australia as well?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of our gatekeepers in this industry have been gatekeepers for multiple decades, which means that certain behaviours that they partook in were overlooked and accepted, and largely due to fear or due to the power balance that we still have in the industry, which also means that a lot of those behaviours are still ongoing. And, you know, we do have a huge power imbalance issue in our industry. We do have a huge abuse of power issue in our industry. You know, I will say there are many good men and many good women calling this out and actively making systemic change. But we've got bad eggs in the industry, and until those bad eggs are ousted from the top, it's going to be a very slow change.
And that should worry us all, I think, in 2024. So, Poppy, this trial will likely unfold over many, many months, of course. So what's coming next, though? What should we expect?
Well, Tony Busby's representing 120 new people, and they'll be filing new lawsuits in the coming weeks. And a new judge has actually been assigned to the case, so Diddy will once again have the opportunity to apply for bail. I think he's going to try and delay the trial as much as possible. You know, like we may not see this go to trial until late next year, late 2025. There actually hasn't been a date set for the trial, so it could take years to shake out. But while that happens, I think we're going to see more people come forward. So I don't know if it's actually in his best interest to let more people come forward with more evidence.
Poppy Reid is a music journalist and co-founder of Bragg Media. If you need help, the National Domestic Family and Sexual Violence Counselling Service, 1800-RESPECT, is available. Call 1800-737-732. In an emergency, call 000. This episode was produced by Cara Jensen McKinnon and Sydney Peed. Audio production by Sam Dunn. Our supervising producer is David Cody. I'm Sam Hawley. ABC News Daily will be back again tomorrow. Thanks for listening.
Hey, Jez and Julia here, and on Not Stupid this week, we talk about the big stories making news, but also the things that are giving us hope. And this week, it's poetry.
Did you know that from next year, Australia's going to have a poet laureate? We had thought about doing this promo in rhyming verse, but thank goodness We're not going to do that, but do join us on Not Stupid. Find us on the ABC Listen app.